welcome to Signs and Wonders. I'm Nick, your amazing host. Alright, so thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to go over 3 reasons why I believe that we are living in the end times, some clear-cut reasons. I don't have a computer desk yet, so I'm just going to sit on
In this video, I'm going to talk about 3 clear signs that we are living in the end times. First of all, I would like to give an extra special thank you to all my Patreons and to those who have been helping me this last month. I know it's been really tough for all of us with this crazy pandemic. Been extra tough since I got kicked out of the YouTube partner program, and the 200 and something bucks that I got from you guys this month, it actually helped keep my lights on. It paid my hydro bill, so I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys are amazing. If you like my work and you want to keep this channel alive, please check out the links in the video description below. So of course, guys, we know that there's way more than 3 signs obviously happening these days, but I just want to talk about the extremely obvious ones. So first, in Matthew chapter 7:15, Jesus says, "Beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves." Some of you guys might think this next part is a joke, and it might look like a joke, but it's not. Because the thing is, guys, this is affecting people around the world. Some people actually believe these people, and Jesus warned about this. He said people like this would come in the end, so it's something to watch out for.
Doomsday. In your face. Your eyes are filled with all of our anger. Everything we have done to bring you to us.
There are a number of would-be messiahs who claim exactly that, and few are more physically convincing than a former Russian traffic cop named Sergei Torin.
Though he elaborates and he makes a point of telling us, listen, in the last days to come, there's going to be a great persecution and deception. Even worse, he says many people will buy this deception and be led astray. In Matthew 24 verse 5 we read, "See that no one leads you astray. For many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and they will lead many."
And around 5,000 disciples live around him, growing their own food and feasting on his every word.
My whole body was trembling. The trembling is not coming again.
The tomb of Christ, well, I'm Christ, I'm not in the tomb, I'm not dead yet.
But with no support, he lives in a squatter's camp outside London. Quibeloid, the most successful of the world's self-labeled saviors.
The official coming of the Son of God was in April 13, 2005.
Private jet and personal helicopter.
How do you justify your lifestyle? I mean, your watch could probably feed 100 families for a month.
If it's not God's will for me to have these things I have, you can take it away.
Not fear!
And then we have wars, guys. Verse 6 goes on to say, "And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom."
Your helmet save you, man. Hey, start shooting! Start shooting!
Watching the men going into attack, I wonder what the day will bring for them, and whether all of them will make it back. Suddenly, tanks come charging down the road from the front line.
The troops are moving forward very slowly, as you can see, down towards Tankata, which is just a few kilometers, but you may be able to hear there is still quite a lot of heavy fighting going on. You can hear small arms fire, heavy machine guns, and mortars from both sides. And we just learned that the tanks that came back quickly up the road had come under very heavy fire.
There will be earthquakes, pestilence, and famine.
Did you guys know there's been more earthquakes in the last 60 days than there has been in the last 60 years combined? This is definitely one of the hardest prophecies for naysayers and atheists to ignore.
Everybody okay?
Panic throughout the city. Inside businesses and in the streets. The massive 7.1 quake shook this town just a day after being rocked by a magnitude 6.4 foreshock on the 4th of July.
Everything gone.
Yeah. The violent shaking causing this home to go up in flames.
Right there, you see that thick black smoke. Firefighters right now working to put that out.
Many residents tonight sleeping on sidewalks after dozens of homes were severely damaged or completely destroyed.
We're not going to leave. This is our home. But at the same time, it's really scary to be in the house.
I went and checked on my house and it was gone. So I lost my house today. I don't know if I could even save it.
Grocery store owners had barely finished cleaning up after Thursday's shaker when Friday's hit.
I was smoking cigarette outside. I thought, this is it. End of the world.
The latest quake was centered 150 miles northeast of Los Angeles, the largest to hit the region in 20 years. 20 million people in the quake zone felt as far away as Las Vegas, Arizona, and parts of San Diego.
Tonight across our nation, in big cities and rural communities, a new reality is hitting home for Americans. The U.S. death toll has now reached a grim milestone as the number of infected soars to extraordinary levels. But each number is a story, a family torn apart.
Rocking the island just a day after a 5.8 earthquake destroyed multiple homes in this famous landmark, the Punta Ventana rock formation.
It was felt across the island, the most powerful earthquake yet, followed by a swarm of at least 11 more. The notoriously vulnerable power grid was shut down proactively, and we're now getting a better scope of the damage with sunrise.
Everything started falling over.
This comes on the heels of Monday's 5.8 quake called a foreshock that shook houses right off their foundations, snapped power poles, and toppled this home, pancaking both cars.
In China right now, the government is actually paying citizens up to $1,500 American to rat out their Christian neighbors. It's pretty startling to say the least. Like, Christians in China are meeting in secret makeshift churches right now, guys, that they run in their houses, you know, just like the first Christians did in the 1st century in Rome. So when they feared persecution, pretty crazy what's happening right now.
Korea tops the Open Doors watch list of worst offending countries.
There are 60,000 Christians in labor camps for owning a Bible, and many of them die there.
The North Korean government doesn't just arrest you if you're found to be a Christian. They arrest your parents. They arrest your children. They want to completely wipe out even the idea of a different God than the Kim family.
China is building what I think is a blueprint, a roadmap of persecution for other regimes around the world. And they're doing it with surveillance, with a social score that measures Christian behavior, attending church, taking your kids to Sunday school, as a negative thing.
find kind of sad is that Europe, you know, which has always been like, if you go back in history, Europe has been the greatest Christian nation of all time, basically. But they've like kicked God out of their nation. And I believe that's part of the reason why they're being hit so hard with this pandemic. I mean, I have other theories that involve Rome and the Vatican and all that, but I'll save that for another video.
This mass falling away is something undeniable that's happening to Christians around the world, and it's something very sad. I know that we shouldn't have any surprises, right? Because it's all being prophesied to us, but it's just something just sad about it. It's like a mass Christian, just a falling away, like a moral genocide. It's sad to see.
Martyrs Free Church in Edinburgh, part of the history of Christianity in Scotland. Today it's Frankenstein, which describes itself as both a family-friendly venue and a place for stag parties and bar-top dancers. This is St. Paul's Church in Bristol, England. It's now a school for circus performers. And in Linares, Spain, the Church of Santa Barbara is now Chaos Temple, a skateboard park. But before you get angry with the owners of Frankenstein, understand that Europe today has more empty church buildings than it knows what to do with, because Europe is by and large no longer Christian.
And the worst part is, guys, is I know people personally, and I'm sure you guys do too, that are being deceived right now. Many are fellow Christians. In 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 3-4, we read, "For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but wanting to have their ears tickled, they will accumulate for themselves teachers in accordance to their own desires, and will turn away their ears from the truth and will turn aside to myths." We're seeing this right now in these days more than ever, guys. People twisting the scripture and walking after their own lusts to fill their needs.
This polluting and twisting of scripture is something that really bothers me, especially. I have a couple friends that are you know, going to just, they have just crazy ideas, and it's just the way people perceive scripture and twist it out to their own. Like, there's so many different denominations of churches, Jehovah's Witnesses, and like all this crazy stuff, and I think this is one of the main ones that is really damaging to our faith.
Do you sin?
Yes, I do.
And why not?
Because that would be highly inappropriate.
And do you tell others at your church not to sin, or do you tell them that it's okay to sin?
I tell them not to sin.
But why are you telling them not to if you are sinning yourself?
Because every apostle in the New Testament told people not to sin, and they all sinned themselves. So I'm following the example of the apostles and prophets who were all sinners and yet preached for people not to sin.
And did those people sin once the ones in the Bible, the prophets, did they sin once they were born again?
2 Peter chapter 3 says, "We read knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lusts, and saying, where is this promise of his coming?" Like, when is he coming back, basically. And then verse 5 goes on to say that they will be willingly ignorant of the creation story, and they will be willingly ignorant of the flood. And it's so true these days, guys. It seems like the secular world just refused to believe, no matter how much evidence is slapped in their face.
We are taught that we are Homo sapiens, right? Essentially, it's when we evolved into human beings, right? And everybody before that was some type of Homo erectus, or as we generally refer to them as cavemen. Well, there's a new study out that seems to show that we both and cavemen were on the planet at the very same time. In other words, we, as we are right now, and whatever the caveman thing was, we were on the planet at the same time.
This is a perfect example of when it says they will be willingly ignorant and willingly ignorant of the flood. Like, this should be a nail in the coffin for Darwinism, dead.
An international team of researchers led by the University of Iowa announced they found a bed of bones, 12 Homo erectus skull caps, and 2 tibias beside the Solo River in Nangdong, Java, that date back between 117 and 108,000 years ago.
During that same time period, from 108 to 117,000 years ago, scientists say that Homo sapiens had already evolved in Africa, and Neanderthals were living in Europe around the same time.
Researchers say there was a mass death event, more than likely a massive flood in Java brought on by climate change that wiped out the last surviving group of Homo erectus on Earth.
But you hear what that guy said? That was the kicker too. Oh, he said that all these fossils were found beside each other, and it was from, they had a death. The kicker, the nail in the coffin, guys, when he said all the fossils were laid down beside each other, and the death was all caused by a mass flood event. And then, of course, he had to say probably due to global warming. But it's like, you give these guys so much evidence, slap them right in the face with it, and there's just like, there's nothing. Like, what are they going to say about cavemen and humans being found beside each other, along with all these other mammal fossils that were fossilized from a mass flood event, just like it says in the Bible, but they're saying, oh, it's probably because of climate change and global warming. Like, give me a break, right, guys?
I know that we know the truth, guys. I know it can be frustrating at times just living in a secular, atheistic world, but we got to be strong, guys. Keep praying and don't be shaken in your faith. Remember, every knee will bow in the end, guys, and he does answer. It might take him a while to answer sometimes, especially for me, but he does. Like, I've been sitting in a jail cell before, underneath a courthouse, in like the coldest, tiniest jail cell, like just praying, if you get me out of this, God, like, you know, it took months and months, but I realized it popped in my head. Holy, he got me out of it. All my charges got dropped. Like, he answers. It takes a while, but he will answer, guys. God bless you all, guys. God bless you and your loved ones. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.